Hi everybody, it's John here. I'm talking to you from Londonderry, Vermont. I'm outside the Neighbor's Pantry, which is a great local institution. They've been serving clients in the area for many, many years. And I'm here to meet my colleague, Laurie Kroose, who's the minister of the Second Congregational Church, right here next door to the pantry. And we're walking into the pantry, and by golly, there's Laurie. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm just fine, thanks.
Do you want to just walk us around so that we can get sort of a customer eye view of what's here?
Sure. So we do distribution on the third Friday of each month from 1 to 4. And 10 months of the year we're open to anyone who wants to come. 2 months of the year, November and December, we limit it to Londonderry, South Londonderry, and the border towns, just because we tend to get overwhelmed in those time periods.
Yeah.
So when you come, we welcome you. You fill out a little bit of paperwork.
Yeah.
We don't release names, but we do have to submit the categories of clients to the government. For
Okay.
example, we get some government food. Serve 50 people between 18 and 35, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you get a number if you're here at 1 o'clock, and then when we call your number, you get either a bag or a banana box, depending on how many folks are in your family.
Okay.
And then you basically go shopping. You get a cart like
Cards
this,
are here. Yeah.
and you can take anything you want. The only things that are limited are coffee. We don't get much coffee donated,
Okay.
Which is a sorrow for me. I love coffee, and so I
As do I.
encourage my congregation to donate coffee and tuna because it's expensive. So
Right.
You're limited to 2 cans of tuna. But if you wanted to take, 10 cans of pork and beans, that would be fine.
Got it.
And people come along, and in 2003, the Vermont Food Bank required that pantries that get food from the food bank become self-selecting. We used to just hand people food.
Right.
Didn't make a lot of sense, although that was the way we did it. And self-selecting is so much better because if you don't like grapefruit juice, well, then you don't take it.
Right.
So then they go through, and we encourage new clients to walk through so they have a sense of what we have, so
Right.
they don't fill up on the first set of shelves.
And typically, Laurie, how many folks are here? How many volunteers are kind of on the floor when clients come in?
Great question. At the moment, we have lots of volunteers.
Yeah.
We tends to come in waves. I'd say we have about 10 volunteers here
Yeah.
at a time.
Okay.
So there's a couple things happening. One is that sometimes folks need help with the paperwork. I'd say probably 30% of our folks have us fill them out. They have to sign them, of course, but
Yeah.
frankly, they're not super literate, and they say quite honestly, it'll go faster if you do it.
Right.
Sometimes people just need a listening ear. I love being here as the minister because it's a face for the church, and particularly this time of year, we get a lot of requests for fuel.
Right.
And so people say, can I talk to you for a minute? Or if they need wood, I send them to Just Neighbors.
Right.
So that we need people to be floaters.
Right.
Then we have folks who handle the fresh produce. We always have some fresh produce.
And there's a couple of freezers and refrigerators.
Yep.
I can see
Yep.
one there.
Um,
And
we
then another one
we get
there.
frozen meat from the government, turkey, hot dogs. We buy whole turkeys at Thanksgiving. This year we gave out 60 turkeys.
Yeah.
Then we have about 3 or 4 people who carry the food for the clients. Some of our clients could carry the food, but many of them are older or challenged physically in some way. So we have volunteers who carry them out to the car.
Right.
That's a great opportunity for conversation. And when the state inspects us, they come and check the food pantries every year. We always get high marks for warmth and
Yeah.
friendliness.
Well, I can attest, having been an occasional volunteer here, that the feeling is just great in here.
Yeah.
It's not a scary, intimidating place to go.
As a volunteer, it's fun. It's not fun that people are hungry, but it's fun to be able to do something real
Yeah.
and solid and concrete.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
after this room, you go into the next room, and then this is additional food. All of the stuff from the freezers and the fresh produce is in addition to your bags or box,
Got it.
depending on the size of your family. And the bigger
Right.
your family, the more food you get out.
Right. Right.
And then in here we have a little bit of personal care items,
Right.
and then cereal and mixes, pancake mix, jiffy mix. So this is in addition to that food also.
Okay.
So, you know, you can leave here sometimes with a reasonable amount of food. Since the beginning, this pantry's been here since the 80s, long before I became the minister. And I understand it was started when Magic Mountain shut down for the first time.
Yeah.
And they knew a lot of local folks would be in need. It was never designed to keep people alive. We distribute only once a month.
Right.
The idea was that you would have access to some food staples,
Right.
and that the money that you would have spent on that food you could spend on other things.
Right. Right.
So over the years there's been conversation about maybe opening more frequently than once a month, but once a month seems to fit our clients,
Right.
and it works best for the volunteers.
Laurie, what would you say would be a couple of misconceptions or points of clarification about the mission and ministry of the pantry that,
Sure.
that you could clear up for folks?
That's a great question, John.
Oh, good. We worked on this. We
we did
rehearsed
work
this.
on
Yeah,
this.
we rehearsed this.
So one of the things I'd like folks to know is that if you're on food assistance, you can only buy things you can eat, which may sound straightforward, but
Yeah.
what that means is you can't buy, light bulbs or soap or diapers or toilet paper
Right, okay.
or laundry detergent. And
Okay.
those things are expensive.
Sure, and
So-
all necessary household
all
items.
necessary.
So you can't.
So you can buy toothpaste because you can put it in your mouth.
Right.
So when folks say to me, what can I donate? I often steer them towards those things.
Right.
Because when people do food drives, we get a lot of food, which is great. We always need food. But we also really need these, personal care household
Right.
items. And I guess a second misconception would be that people, we have a whole variety of clients. Sometimes people will be out of work just for a short period of time, or
Right.
maybe they fall ill or something like that. So it's not just the same people every month. It is, alas, sometimes the same people every month. But there's a whole wide variety of people that come here and make use of the pantry.
Right.
I think one of the things that happens to the volunteers is that they have their misconceptions kind of blown wide open when they come and volunteer. They meet people, they learn their stories, they understand a little bit more about the human side of the folks that show up. And I think some of the prejudgments that may or may not, people may or may not have had, often get kind of changed,
Right.
which is really exciting to see. And relationships get formed. One of our volunteers pays for an older person who's raising her grandson to wear a lifeline, and that's just something that the volunteer decided to take on. The expense for that comes out of her checkbook automatically.
Right. Oh, that's great.
And it allows the grandmother, to know that she's got a safety net
Right.
raising her grandson. If she slips and falls, she presses the lifeline.
Right.
And the volunteer loves doing that because it's $49.13 every month, and she knows exactly what it's going for. There's no
Right.
overhead, there's no
Right.
red tape, boom.
And that was really a relationship that was forged right
Right
here
there,
in
yeah.
these shelves. That's a great segue to, how has, in your view as minister here and person related to this, how has this ministry really affected the community, both the folks served and those who are doing the volunteering? What's been the sort of the interior part of that ministry?
Well, I think, most obviously, if people are hungry, we provide them
Right.
food. It also, as a minister, it puts a face on the church, which is really helpful. It opens some doors to some other things. We have a small fuel aid fund through the pantry, too,
Right.
and this time of year especially, we get asked for fuel assistance. People will come and say, hey, can you just step outside with me for a minute? And then they, express their need, and that's really a neat thing. I think that there's a whole, I'd say, a spectrum of people in terms of their interest or involvement. I think it's hard not to be supportive of a food pantry
Right.
and to be against that. People know they're hungry people. So some people may contribute just a little bit or not at all. And then there are people who contribute financially a great deal.
Right.
And then there are people who come and volunteer and really love the interaction with people.
Right.
And then I suppose at the very farthest end of the spectrum would be this person who took on paying for this person's lifeline. But one of the things that's so great about the pantry is people are involved at all different times of the year. We have a local woman who has a lot of apples. So when it's apple season, you know, people get tons and tons of apples, and that's just terrific. And then at Christmas, we have our big gift giveaway. So people that don't even think about the pantry during the calendar year take a tag for a child and buy either a gift or an article of clothing. And then that all happens at our December distribution. And those tags are out in the community at the bank and at all the area churches. So that's a way for people to connect in, you know, in just kind of a small way. We had a neat thing happen last Friday. I guess distribution was last Friday. A fellow came to the door whom I didn't recognize, and he said, "My name's John." I said, "Oh, hi, John. I'm Laurie Kroose. I'm the minister next door." And he said, "I'm new to town." I said, "Oh, well, welcome." He said, "Do you know if there's a food pantry around?" I said, "Boy, are you in luck. Today's the day." I explained we handed out food on the third Friday of each month from 1 to 4. And I said, come on in. And I said, "John, this is Margaret Barton. Margaret will get you set up." And Margaret said, "Oh, hi, John. Nice to meet you. So we have a little bit of paperwork." And he said, "Oh, no. I actually want to donate." And he handed Margaret a money order for $500.
Oh, gosh.
And then just walked away.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
So, that did happen a few years ago. I was putting gas into somebody's car. I mean, I was paying for it. They were doing it and through the Fuel Aid Fund. And a fellow said to me, "What are you doing over there?" And I said, "Oh, it's our food pantry." And he reached into his wallet and he handed me $100.
Yeah.
Those are little blips, and it's not like that happens every month. But so one of the challenging things sometimes is that it's just a Band-Aid. You know, there
Sure.
are people who are living in situations where they're going to need to keep coming back every month
Right.
because they're just kind of in this. It's like a broken record. So that's sort of a bummer. On the other hand, it's great. They're hungry, and we're doing. It's not a bad thing. It's just
Right.
One is aware that it's not perhaps getting at the root of the cause. I fear that sometimes the root of the cause may not be able to be gotten to.
Right.
But we do what we can, and it's a great thing.
Well, thank you so much for showing us around. When this goes out, I'm gonna link the information that you give me so that folks who would like to donate or like to get more information can do so and can get more information. So
Sure. Let me just quickly add,
Yeah.
although we do only distribute once a month, we have emergency distributions within a 24-hour period. If you call the church, we'll set some food out for you within 24 hours of calling. So it's not, if you're new to town or something happens and you're hungry the Saturday after we distribute, you don't have to wait a whole month.
thanks so much for showing us around, and
Okay.
be well. Keep doing the great work that you're doing.
All right. Thanks, John.
All right. See you, Laurie.
Bye.
Bye.